So hi all, welcome to this video lecture. In this video lecture, we are going to discuss about the Sqlite module in Python. So Sqlite is a lightweight serverless self-contained SQL database engine, and it is an inbuilt module in Python. That means you need not install it separately, and it lets you work with Sqlite databases directly from Python code. So unlike the MySQL or the PostgreSQL, SQL does not require a running server. It just stores all the data in a single file, usually with .db or .sqlite extension, right? So it's very useful in those cases when you do not want any kind of database setup, right? It just acts just like a normal txt file that we have, right? So we have already learned about how we can handle text files, right, using the OS module, right? So you can go ahead and you can watch that video as well. The link is at the top. So just similar to these kind of files, right, we have something. What if the entire database is present in one file, right? And you can go ahead and you can move it or run, or you can copy it, or you can cut it, right? Just the same functionality how you do with a file. What if the entire database is present inside a single file? So that kind of flexibility is provided with the help of SQLite, right? So this makes it perfect for learning or quick projects, right? So this is one of the most one of the biggest advantage why we can use SQLite, right? So it is highly optimized for quick read and writes for moderate size database datasets, and it has no network latency. That means everything is on a disk or is in the memory. Okay, so let us go ahead and let us start with this. So the way how we can go ahead and import the SQLite is using the import Sqlite3 module, right? So I will just simply say import Sqlite3, right? So this helps us in importing all the packages within the SQLite module, right? So for this particular demo, right, we are also going to go ahead and import the OS as well. So let us go ahead and let us say import OS, right? So now what we want to do, okay, whatever syntax that we will be learning in this SQLite, right, is exactly similar to the MySQL.connector syntax. So just previous to this particular video, I created one more video on MySQL, how we can connect the MySQL database within our Python to our Python script, and how we can insert data, retrieve data from the MySQL database, right? So that we have already seen, and I have created a separate video on that. So please go ahead and watch that. The link is at the top. Okay, so just like the previous video, right, when we connected MySQL database, here also we need to connect it to a database, and we also need to create a cursor, right? So what is going to be our our motto, like our like the goal for this particular video is that using SQL, right, I want to go ahead and insert these values inside our SQLite database. So right now I don't have any database, right? I don't have the database file with me. So let us go ahead and let us create that. So the very simple way to go ahead and create it, I will simply say con, I will create a variable over here, and I will say SQLite3 dot connect, and within this I will go ahead and I will pass in my database name. So in this case I will say students.db, right? So what it's going to do, it's going to go ahead and create the students database, right? And with the help of the students database, right, a file will be created. If this database exists, then it will read it from this file, and if it doesn't exist, and then it will create a .db file over here, right? And if I go ahead and if I say let's create a cursor as well at the same time, so I will say conn dot cursor. So what this has done, this curve becomes now my pen. With the help of pen I can read this data, and as well as I can write data into this particular database. Okay, so let us go ahead and let us run this. If I run this, you will just see that it will go ahead and it will create a students.db file. Right now this database file is empty, right? Nothing is there inside this file. And if you go ahead and if you take a look into the students underscore details.txt, this is having information of 5 students over here, right? So all these details I want to go ahead and I want to insert in this database. So I have now created this cursor. So let us go ahead, right, And let us get the information from this particular students underscore details.txt first, right? So for that, what we will do, we will first create the file path. So let us go ahead and let's create the file path. And where this file present, so I will simply say os.path.join, and I will say os.getcwd. This will give us our current directory, and here within this I will pass in the file name. So I will say student underscore details dot txt. Right now, with this, what I will do, I will simply say with open, and I will say file path as file. All this I have already taught it in my video lecture for OS module. You can go ahead and you can watch that one. And I will simply say k equals to file dot read lines, right? So read lines, what it will do, it will go ahead and it will provide me the list of all the lines that is present inside the text file, right? If I now go ahead and if I print this k, right, see, this is going to be my output, right? So if you just go ahead and if you take a look at this particular list, right, it is not in the correct format, right? Or /t is coming. /t means tab. So everywhere where there is space or tab, right, we have represented that with /t, correct? So this is /t needs to be replaced, then /n needs to be replaced. So what it has to be replaced with, right? So whenever we are going to go ahead and insert certain inside SQL, whenever we want to go ahead and insert like data or records inside the table, right, we need to go ahead and we need to provide comma in that case. So 1 comma Yash comma 26 comma 88.5, similarly 2 comma Priya comma 22 comma 92.0. Similar to that only, we need to go ahead and we need to format each and every line present inside this list, right? So before doing that, before we will get on to this, right, with this formatting, let us go ahead and let us at least first create a table. Right now our table does not exist inside this students.db, right? So let us go ahead and let us create one. So I will simply say cur, that is cur, with this cursor dot execute. With the help of this execute function, right, this execute module, what method, what we can do, we can go ahead and we can write SQL statements, execute them. So I will create this f string and I will say create table if not exists. If it doesn't exist, what this statement will do, it will create a table if it doesn't exist. If it exists, then it will not create, right? And I will give this table name as student, and inside the bracket, right, I will provide the header values, like what should be the header of the table, right? So the header should be id over here, so id will be integer, and this should be my primary key, right? Then this should be name, this should be varchar. Sorry about that, just give me a moment. So this has to be varchar, and let us say I will give this value as 100. Next, this is age, this has to be integer, and next this will be my marks, this will be float, right? So with this once I execute this, I will be now creating the students table, and the students table is going to be available to us. Now with this table and this header, right, I want to go ahead and I want to insert values inside this particular table, right? So for inserting values, I want to go iterate over this list, and I want to one by one I want to go ahead and insert these values. But for me to go ahead and insert the values inside this particular table, right, this needs to be in proper format, right? So let us go ahead and let us format this, right? So the way how we are going to format this, now I want it in this list format only. I don't want to add values inside this list, neither I want to reduce this down to one single value, right? and neither I want to go ahead and apply a for loop, because if I apply a for loop, this will take time. So in that particular case, in these kind of cases, right, where formatting is required for each and every single line present inside this list, I will use the map function in that case, right? So now what I will do, I will go ahead and I will simply say map, right? And inside this map, I'm going to create a function that is lambda. So map, it will involve function. It will you need to provide a function, and then there will be an iterable in this case. So I have also covered filter, map, and reduce functions in details. You can also watch that video. The link is at the top. So here lambda function I need to go ahead and provide, and here I will say x. And now inside this x, right, I will go ahead and I will simply say that for each and every text present inside this list, I want to go ahead and I want to replace. I will use the dot replace method. This is a string method /t with comma, right? And again I will say dot replace, and here I will place /n, and here I will go ahead and I will pass null value, okay? Because /t, wherever there is /t, there should be comma, and wherever there is new line, I will replace that with empty value, right? I don't want it to be replaced with any value. Now if I go ahead and do this comma, and now I need to provide the iterable. The iterable is going to be simply file dot read lines, right? It's going to be my list on which I need to provide this mapping. If I go ahead and if I say list of this, and if I run this, you see it has been replaced with comma, and this number and this /n has been replaced with empty value, right, null value. But still it's not complete. Why? The reason why it's not complete, because if you just look at Yash or Priya or Amit, right, these all are text values. They need to be under single quotes. They are still not under single quotes, right? So it should be 1 comma within single quote Yash comma 26 comma 8815, because Yash, Priya, these all are string values, right? So let us go ahead and let us also use formatting for each and every values present inside this particular string, right? So in that that particular case, what should we do in that case, right? So let us go ahead and we will be using what we say map inside another map. So let us go ahead and clear the terminal first, okay? And for this particular, for us to build a map inside a map, right, first let us go ahead and let us create a function, right? So what this function will do, if we have a string value, right, it will go ahead and it will place it under quotes, else it is going to keep as it is, correct? So I will say def, and I will say quote underscore if underscore string. I will create this particular function and I will pass this value inside this function, okay? And I'm going to place this inside try block. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to typecast this into float, right? If it is float, right, if it is float, then we will return this value. But obviously if it is not float, if it is a string value, right, then obviously it is going to go ahead and give me an error. It will say exception, because it's not going to go ahead and convert this into a string value into a float value. So I will say except value error, and here I will return, in that case, within double quotes using an f string, within single quotes I'm going to go ahead and pass this value over here, right? So this function is going to go ahead and fulfill that particular purpose, where it is going to convert a string value and it is going to place that under quotes, whereas if it is any other value, it is going to just place it as it is, okay? So after we have created this function, right, now what we are going to do, we are going to create a map inside another map, right? So for that, first and foremost, what we need to do, we need to go ahead and we need to split it, right? So we will split it on the basis of this comma, okay? So that inside each and every list, right, that we have 1 comma Yash comma 26 comma 82, right, that entire string, single string, will be converted into list value, right? So that we can go ahead and use that inside the map function as an interval. And once we are done with this formatting for quote if string, we are going to join it back again, right? So after this, what we are going to do, after that we have splitted this, right, now we want to go ahead and we will use this inside another map. Alright, this becomes my another map function over here. Let me pass one more bracket here, and inside this I will pass this particular function, that is quote if string, right, and I will run it on top of this particular iterable, correct? So this becomes my map function. After this, what I will do, I will go ahead and turn this into a list, correct? After I turn this into a list, I need to go ahead and join it back on the basis of this comma, right? Once I join this back on the basis of comma, what will happen, this is now going to give me a proper result, right? A proper string, which is where the string is in under quotes while the rest of the values, it is as it is, correct? And now if I go ahead and if I execute this statement, right, see, it is going ahead and it is giving me the proper value, right? Since ID, name, age and marks, they all are string values, so they all are under quotes. But if you look at one is string value, one is your integer value, 8815 is float value, so these all are giving me proper values, right? String values are only under quotes. So this I can directly go ahead and I can pass it inside my insert statement in the SQL, right? So what I will do, I will say for I in K, right, that is for each and every one of this value. And yes, I don't want this one, the first one, right? So I can simply, I will go ahead and I will simply say from 1 till this, right? That is from this particular, from the 1th index till the last I want. So for I in K, right, I will simply say CUR, that is cursor dot execute, okay? And inside this I will pass this this f string, and I will write this statement, insert into which table, the student table, right, values, and inside this particular bracket, inside the bracket I will pass the I over here, right? So for every value inside this particular list, it will go ahead, pick this, place it here, pick this, place it here, right? So I have provided this entire formatting and I will be placing it here, and it will automatically, it will go ahead and it will insert it one by one. And after we are done with this, right, I will simply say con dot commit, so that it can save those changes present inside the database. And after we save those changes, I want to go ahead and I will say val equals to cur dot execute, and after executing this I want to go ahead and I will say select. What will be the select statement? Select everything from the student, correct? Select everything from the student, and I will simply say print whatever value will be stored inside from a select statement. It means it's going to give me a value, a table value. I will simply go ahead and say val dot fetch all, so that I can fetch, I can see what all results we have. If I go ahead and if I run this, unique constraint, okay, my bad, this already exists. Let me go ahead and delete this, right? And now let me run it again. Yes, so as you can see, this value has been now inserted inside the database, and now from the database, using the select statement, I can now see the result, right? So now you can see this is now entirely in the form of a tuple. So if you don't know, then in the database every record is in the form of a tuple, one single tuple, right? So this is what it is, right? One single tuple. This is another tuple. Like this we have all the 5 tuples, which indicates that this entire data has been inserted, this entire record has been inserted inside the database, right? So whatever syntax that we have seen, right, it is very similar to the syntax of the SQL, and whatever we have covered here is already covered in the MySQL lecture, okay, in depth. So you can go ahead and you can watch that one first, and then you can come here, okay. So the entire idea, the reason why I made this one, okay, because the syntax is also almost the same, right? So but it was very important for you to for me to give you an idea that SQLite, you can run it inside Python script, correct? And because it's an inbuilt module, it does not require any kind of inbuilt server. You do not need to establish a server, right, in that particular case. And if you want a database to be handled in a single file, right, this is a database basically, right, in a single file, then you can go ahead and you can use this SQLite, and just like any normal file, you can go ahead and move this particular database to any other location. So that flexibility is also there, right? So I hope I have been able to go ahead and provide you with this clarity. If you really enjoyed this session, then please don't forget to like, share and subscribe my channel, and please don't forget to press the bell icon for notification.